The vodka bottle slipped from my grip. Pure exhaustion after 9 hours behind this bar. 4 months in Chicago, 4 months under a dead woman's name, 4 months of serving drinks to people who'd turn me in for the right price. I caught the bottle just before it shattered. Unlike my life. The crimson room hummed around me like a dangerous heartbeat. Exposed brick walls absorbed secrets, Edison bulbs cast shadows that moved like living things, and the air tasted of expensive mistakes. Leather, gunpowder residue someone tried to mask with cologne, and aged bourbon that cost more than my rent. This wasn't just an underground bar. It was a confessional for sinners who'd never seek forgiveness. Rachel, Luis, my manager, materialized beside me, his weathered face tight with something between warning and apology. Private booth just filled. You're up. My stomach clenched. I thought Miguel's handling the situation that put him in the hospital. His hand gripped my forearm, hard enough to leave marks. Listen to me. The man in booth 7. You serve him, you keep your eyes down, and you do not engage. Understand. I understood. In 4 months of invisible survival, I'd perfected the art of not engaging. He's impatient tonight, Luis continued, releasing me with a slight push. 3 drinks. Top shelf. Get in, get out. The private booths lined the back wall, separated from the main floor by wrought iron screens that created the illusion of privacy while ensuring everyone knew who warranted seclusion. Booth 7 was the darkest, positioned in the corner where emergency exits met. I loaded my tray with precision, Macallan 25, Russian Standard Platinum, and a bottle I had to retrieve from the locked cabinet, the kind that didn't have prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. The walk to booth 7 felt like crossing a minefield. 3 men occupied the space, but only one mattered. He sat in the center, sprawled with the casual confidence of someone who'd never had to make himself smaller to survive. Dark suit that probably cost more than I'd made in 6 months. Shirt sleeves rolled to reveal forearms marked with scars that told stories I didn't want to know. His hair was dark, almost black, pushed back from a face that was all sharp edges. Strong jaw, blade of a nose, lips pressed into a line that suggested he smiled rarely and meant it never. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Gray. Storm cloud gray with flecks of silver that caught the low light. They tracked me from the moment I stepped into their sphere, assessing, calculating, stripping away every carefully constructed layer of Rachel Martinez until only Olivia Palmer remained, exposed and terrified. I forced my feet to move forward. Gentlemen, you're new. His voice cut through my practiced greeting like a knife through silk. Low, rough, with an edge that suggested violence was always an option. No accent I could place, but the cadence was pure authority. I've been here 4 months, sir. Keep it professional. Invisible. Forgettable. 4 months. He leaned back, one arm draped across the booth's back, the other resting on the table where his fingers drummed once, a slow, deliberate rhythm. And Luis has kept you away from this section. Smart man. Usually. The other 2 men, both large, both armed based on the way their jackets hung, said nothing. They might as well have been furniture for all the attention he paid them. I set down the first drink, Macallan for the man on the right. Then the vodka for the one on the left. My hands stayed steady through pure force of will. When I reached for the 3rd bottle, his hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Not hard. Not painful. But absolutely, unmistakably a claim. What's your name? Rachel, sir. The lie tasted like ash. Those gray eyes narrowed fractionally. Try again. My heart hammered against my ribs. How did he know? How could he possibly? Rachel Martinez, I repeated, putting steel in my voice I didn't feel. Would you like me to get your drink, or should I tell Luis you're not interested? The silence stretched. Somewhere in the bar, glass shattered. Someone laughed, the sound too loud, too forced. But in booth 7, time had stopped. Then he smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Pour the drink, Rachel. He released my wrist, but his gaze never wavered. And when you're done, We're going to have a conversation about why someone with your instincts is working in a place like this. I poured with trembling hands, hyper-aware of his attention on every movement. When I set the glass before him, he picked it up, took a slow sip, and set it down with deliberate care. What's the rush? He gestured to the empty chair beside him. Sit. I can't. I have other. That wasn't a request. Every survival instinct I'd honed over 2 years of running screamed at me to leave. To run. To disappear into the Chicago night and never look back. But Luis's warning echoed in my head. He's impatient tonight. And underneath the fear, a darker truth. I had nowhere left to run to. I sat. He studied me with the intensity of someone reading a book in a language only he understood. You're scared. But not of me specifically. You're scared of being seen. His head tilted slightly. Who are you hiding from, Rachel? I don't know what you're talking about. Then let me clarify. He leaned forward, close enough that I could smell cedar and something darker metallic. Blood. No. Gunpowder. I own this city. Every bar, every backroom deal, every secret people think they're keeping. And you. His finger tapped the table once, emphasizing the point. You're a federal witness using a dead woman's identity and praying no one notices. The world tilted. How? The word barely made it past my lips. How do I know? That dangerous smile returned. Because I make it my business to know everything about everyone in my territory. And you, Olivia Palmer. The sound of my real name in his mouth felt like a death sentence. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid for thinking you could hide here. I should have run. Should have bolted for the exit and never stopped. Instead, I met his eyes and said the only thing I could. What do you want? His smile widened, showing teeth. Now we're getting somewhere. He picked up his drink, swirled it once, and took another sip. What I want is simple. I want to know why a woman with a target on her back is serving drinks in my establishment. I want to know who put that target there. And most importantly, he set down the glass with a soft click. I want to know what you're going to do when they find you. They won't find me. They already have, babe. The endearment slipped from his mouth like venom disguised as honey. Casual. Dismissive. Disrespectful in a way that made my blood boil despite the terror freezing my veins. Every careful mask I'd worn for 4 months shattered. Don't call me that. The temperature in the booth dropped 10 degrees. The 2 men flanking him shifted, hands moving toward hidden weapons. But Tyler, because that's who he had to be, Tyler Peterson, the man even criminals feared, didn't move. Didn't blink. He just stared at me with those storm gray eyes, and then he did something that terrified me more than any threat could have. He laughed. Low, rough, genuinely amused. Say it again. His voice was soft, deadly. I dare you. I walked out of the Crimson Room at 2:47 a.m. and didn't stop moving until dawn broke over a motel that charged by the hour and didn't ask for ID. Cash only. No cameras. The kind of place where everyone was running from something. I had $400, a duffel bag I kept packed for exactly this scenario, and a burner phone with 3 contacts I'd never call. 24 hours. That's how long I'd stay before catching a bus to Milwaukee, then maybe Minneapolis. Somewhere cold. Somewhere I could disappear into winter and never thaw. The room smelled like bleach and mistakes. I wedged a chair under the door handle, checked the window, fire escape, 3 stories down, manageable, and finally let myself collapse onto sheets that had seen better decades. Tyler Peterson knew my real name. Tyler Peterson owned this city. Tyler Peterson had looked at me like I was a problem he hadn't decided how to solve yet. I didn't sleep. I planned. New city meant new identity, new hair color, new everything. Rachel Martinez was burned. Maybe I'd be Jennifer Kim next. Or Ashley Rodriguez. Someone forgettable. Someone who didn't talk back to men with storm gray eyes and casual promises of violence. The knock came at noon. 3 sharp raps, authoritative, patient. Not housekeeping. Not the cops. I grabbed the knife I kept under my pillow, 4 inches, serrated, illegal in most states, and moved to the door. The peephole showed me exactly what I'd feared. Tyler Peterson stood in the hallway of a $70 a night motel like he owned it. Because he probably did. I know you're looking at me, Olivia. Open the door before I stop being polite about this. My hand was on the knife. The window was 15 feet away. I could. The fire escape has 2 of my men on it. The parking lot has 3 more. And if you're thinking about the bathroom window, it's a 40-foot drop onto concrete. His voice carried through the cheap wood like it was paper. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to talk. We talked last night. No. Last night I introduced myself. Today we negotiate. I opened the door 6 inches, chain still engaged, knife behind my back. How did you find me? He looked at the chain like it was a joke. You used cash at a motel 12 blocks from my territory. The owner's been on my payroll for 8 years. His gaze dropped to where my right hand disappeared behind the doorframe. And whatever you're holding won't stop me if I decide to come in. So let's skip the theatrics. I should have slammed the door. Should have jumped out that 40-foot window and taken my chances with concrete. Instead, I released the chain. He stepped inside and the room shrank. In the bar's low light, he'd been dangerous. In the harsh fluorescent buzz of a motel room, he was predatory. His suit was different. Still expensive, still perfectly tailored, but his eyes were the same. Calculating. Missing nothing. Rachel Martinez doesn't exist. He closed the door behind him, casual as breathing. No social security number, no employment history before 4 months ago, no paper trail. Want to tell me who you really are? You already know. I know your name. I want to know why a federal witness is slinging drinks instead of sitting in protective custody. He moved to the window, glanced out like he was checking the sight lines. Someone burn you? Someone you were supposed to trust. I didn't answer. Couldn't. He turned back to me. Here's what I'm offering. I own a nightclub, the Ivory. Legitimate operation, clean books, clientele that tips well and keeps their hands to themselves. Better pay than the Crimson Room. Safer environment. I don't work for men like you. Men like me. He stepped closer. Not threatening. Not yet. But the space between us evaporated anyway. You mean men who could protect you from whatever you're running from? I froze. The knife suddenly felt useless in my hand. His expression shifted, not quite a smile, but something more calculating. You need money. I need a bartender who doesn't kiss my ass. Call it mutually beneficial. And when your enemies come looking for leverage. When they figure out I'm connected to you. My voice was steadier than I felt. I've watched 3 people die because they helped me. I won't add more bodies to that count. The difference is, my people know how to shoot back. He pulled out his phone, typed something, and turned the screen toward me. A photograph, Agent Vincent Blake, standing outside a Chicago police station. Yesterday's date stamp. Your problem's already here. Question is whether you face him alone or with resources. My stomach dropped. I work the bar, I heard myself say. You don't ask about my past. And I call you whatever I damn well please. His smile was all edges. Deal. But Olivia, and yes, I know that's your real name, disrespect me in front of my people again, and we'll have problems. He headed for the door, paused with his hand on the knob. Be at the Ivory tomorrow night. 8 p.m. Don't be late, babe. The endearment hit like a slap. He was gone before I could respond, leaving me alone with the knife in my hand and the sinking realization that I just made a deal with the only man more dangerous than the one hunting me. The Ivory was everything the Crimson Room wasn't. Polished marble floors, crystal chandeliers that actually sparkled, clientele in designer suits who said please and thank you. Legal. Legitimate. The kind of place that paid taxes and passed health inspections. I hated that I felt safe there. 2 weeks in and I'd established myself as the bartender who made perfect martinis and took exactly zero shit. The regulars learned quickly. I remembered their orders, laughed at their jokes when they were funny, and had a death stare that could freeze bourbon mid-pour when they weren't. But every shift, I felt him watching. Tyler's office overlooked the main floor-to-ceiling windows that were probably one-way glass but felt like a microscope. I'd glance up and catch movement, a shadow, a silhouette, and know he was there. Cataloging. Assessing. Waiting for something I couldn't name. It set my teeth on edge and made my pulse race in ways that had nothing to do with fear. The confrontation came on a Friday. Busy night, 3 deep at the bar, and some finance bro in a tie that cost more than my rent decided his $100 tab entitled him to grab my ass. I had his wrist pinned to the bar and a bottleneck pressed against his carotid before his drunk brain registered the mistake. "Touch me again," I said quietly, "and you'll need surgery to drink through a straw." The bar went silent. Every eye turned toward us. I was about to handle that. Tyler's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He'd materialized beside me, suit jacket open, hands relaxed at his sides. But his eyes were ice. Though I appreciate the efficiency. I released the finance bro, who scrambled backward, suddenly very sober. Tyler gestured to 2 security guards who appeared from nowhere. "Escort Mr. Patterson out. Permanently." The crowd resumed breathing. Conversations restarted. Crisis averted. Tyler turned that glacial stare on me. "My office. Now. I'm working. Carlos can cover. Not a request." I followed him up the stairs, hyper-aware of his back, the precise way he moved, controlled violence in every step. His office was exactly what I'd expected. Dark wood, leather chairs, city views that reminded everyone who owned what. He closed the door. That was reckless. That was self-defense. That was you playing vigilante in my club. He moved closer, not quite touching. "I have security for situations like that. I don't need you to fight my battles, babe." The word slipped out before I could stop it. Casual, dismissive, the same tone that had made him dare me that first night. We both froze. His jaw tightened. But this time, he didn't explode. Instead, something darker flickered in those storm-gray eyes. "You're playing with fire, Olivia. Then stop watching me like you want to burn." The air between us ignited. He moved forward, backing me against the bar cart until crystal decanters rattled behind me. Not trapping. Not threatening. But absolutely, unmistakably claiming space. "You wanted disrespect," I said, chin up, refusing to retreat. "I'm delivering." His hand came up slowly, giving me time to stop him, and traced the scar above my left eyebrow. The touch was gentle. Devastating. "Who gave you this?" I jerked away. "None of your business. Everything about you is my business now." But he stepped back, giving me room to breathe. Federal databases aren't as secure as they think. "Want to tell me why a protected witness is slinging drinks in my bar?" My blood went cold. "How much do you know?" "Enough." He moved to his desk, pulled out a file, and slid it across to me. My life, documented in clinical detail, Seattle incident report, witness protection intake forms, Agent Blake's signature on transfer documents. Enough to know you entered protective custody 2 years ago. Enough to know you disappeared from that custody 18 months ago. Enough to know Blake's the one hunting you. I couldn't breathe. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm offering you a choice." He closed the file. "Keep running, keep hiding, keep waiting for Blake to find you. Or trust that maybe, the man everyone's afraid of is exactly the shield you need." "Why?" The word cracked. "Why do you care?" Something shifted in his expression. Vulnerability, raw and quickly hidden. "Because when you called me babe that first night, you looked me in the eye like I was just a man. Not a monster. Not a king. Just a man. He leaned back against his desk. No one's done that in 13 years. So yeah, I'm invested. Sue me. I should have run. Should have grabbed my bag and disappeared into the Chicago night. Instead, I asked, "What do you want from me?" "Right now. I want you to stop carrying that knife like it'll save you and start trusting that maybe you don't have to save yourself alone." He moved toward the door, paused. "When you're ready to stop running, I'll be here." He left me in his office, surrounded by evidence he could destroy me with and the terrifying realization that he wouldn't. That was more dangerous than any threat. The Ivory closed at 2 a.m., but I stayed until 3, wiping down the bar with methodical precision I didn't need. Anything to avoid going back to my apartment, the latest in a series of anonymous rooms that never felt like home because home meant staying, and staying meant dying. The main floor lights dimmed to emergency exit signs and the ghost glow of the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. I was rinsing the last glass when I noticed the light still on in Tyler's office. I should have left. Should have clocked out and disappeared into the night like I'd been doing for 2 years. Instead, I climbed the stairs. He sat behind his desk, tie loosened, jacket draped over his chair, tumbler of whiskey catching the desk lamp's amber light. He didn't look up when I entered, but his shoulders shifted, acknowledgement without invitation. "Drinking alone?" I leaned against the doorframe. That's depressing even for a crime boss. "It's 3 a.m. You should be gone." He took a slow sip, finally meeting my eyes. "Why aren't you?" "Because you're the first person in 2 years who's looked at me like I'm worth something besides a bullet. Because I'm tired of running. Because every time you call me Olivia instead of Rachel, something in my chest cracks open." "Couldn't sleep," I said instead. "Thought I'd keep the Sad King company." A ghost of a smile. Sad King. That's a new one. He gestured to the chair across from him. "You want to know what's sad? Building an empire and realizing you have no one to share it with. Everyone fears me. No one stays." I moved into the room, but didn't sit. "Is that why you reacted like that when I called you babe?" "Because no one treats you like a person." His jaw tightened. "No one's dared to in 13 years. Maybe they should have." The silence stretched between us, heavy with things neither of us could say. Outside, Chicago glittered like broken glass, beautiful and sharp enough to cut. "I was 19, he said finally, voice low and rough. "Finals week. I came home and found them all dead. Mom, Dad, my sister Emily. She was 16. Had a scholarship to Northwestern." He drained his glass. "Rival organization. Message about territory. I spent the next 13 years making sure no one ever sent me a message like that again." My throat constricted. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." "I'm not." He poured another 2 fingers. "I built this empire on their graves. Every business, every connection, every person who fears my name. It's all a monument to making sure I'm never that powerless again." He looked up at me. "Your turn. What are you running from?" I should have deflected. Should have built the walls higher. "I witnessed something I shouldn't have," I heard myself say. 2 years ago in Seattle. Thought I was doing the right thing, going to the authorities. Turned out the authority was part of the problem. He tried to have me killed. I ran. I wrapped my arms around myself. 3 people have died helping me since then. A motel clerk who let me stay off the books. A lawyer who tried to get me new documents. A nurse who treated a knife wound without reporting it. All of them dead within a week of helping me. Tyler stood, moved around the desk. "You think you're poison." "I know I am." "You're not." He stopped in front of me, close enough that I could smell cedar and whiskey. "You're a survivor who got dealt a shit hand by people who should have protected you. Everyone who gets close to me dies, Tyler." "I'm not everyone." His hand came up, cupping my face with devastating gentleness. "And I'm not that easy to kill." The space between us evaporated. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel the dangerous pull of wanting something I couldn't afford to have. Maybe they should have, I whispered, echoing his earlier words. Treated you like a person. His eyes darkened. Olivia. His phone shattered the moment. He pulled back, cursing, and answered. What? His expression shifted from frustration to cold fury. When? How many? He grabbed his jacket. I'm on my way. What's wrong? Problem with one of my operations. I need to. He stopped, turned back to me. Stay away from the east side tomorrow. Blake's men have been spotted. The world tilted. What did you say? Agent Vincent Blake. That's who you're running from, isn't it? He said it casually, like he hadn't just detonated a bomb in my chest. My people have been tracking federal movements. Blake's in Chicago. Has been for 3 days. Ice flooded my veins. You've been investigating me. I've been protecting you. You had no right. Fury ignited, burning through the fear. You had no right to dig into my past, to track Blake too. I had every right the moment you walked into my club. His voice rose to match mine. You think I let just anyone work here? You think I don't vet every person who enters my territory? I'm not your territory. You are now. He stepped closer, towering. Whether you like it or not, the moment you accepted my offer, you became my responsibility. And I don't let people I'm responsible for get killed by corrupt federal agents. Everyone you protect becomes a target. I was shaking now, 2 years of terror and rage spilling out. Don't you get it? Blake will use you against me. He'll hurt you to hurt me, and I can't. I won't. I'm trying to protect you. I don't want your protection. The words ripped out of me. I want you to stay away before you end up like everyone else who tried to help me. I ran. Down the stairs, through the empty club, into the Chicago night that suddenly felt safer than the man offering me sanctuary. Behind me, Tyler called my name. I didn't stop. Because the most dangerous thing wasn't Blake finding me. It was realizing I was starting to care whether Tyler survived the war I'd brought to his door. I spotted him during the lunch rush. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, face I'd seen in Seattle standing 2 feet behind Agent Blake. Not federal. Muscle. The kind Blake used when he needed something done that wouldn't show up in official reports. He sat at the bar nursing a whiskey he hadn't touched, watching me with the patience of a predator who knew his prey had nowhere to run. I finished my shift on autopilot, every nerve screaming. When I took my break, he followed me into the alley behind the ivory. Tell Blake I'm gone. I kept my back to the brick wall, eyes on his hands. I left Chicago this morning. He's chasing a ghost. He smiled. Wrong. All wrong. He knows you're here, Olivia. And he knows about your new boyfriend. He pulled out his phone, turned it toward me. Photograph, Tyler leaving the ivory yesterday. Crosshairs centered on his chest. Professional. Precise. Everyone you touch dies. That's your pattern, isn't it? The motel clerk. The lawyer. The nurse. He stepped closer. Run, or watch Tyler Peterson bleed out in front of you. Your choice. You've got 48 hours. He dropped the phone at my feet and walked away, whistling. I picked it up with shaking hands. The photo was time-stamped 3:47 p.m. yesterday. While I'd been inside mixing drinks and pretending I was safe. Blake had been watching. Waiting. Positioning his pieces. The panic attack hit like a freight train. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the roaring in my ears and the certainty that I'd just signed Tyler's death warrant by walking into his life. I ran. Not to the apartment Tyler knew about, the one bedroom near the ivory with the doorman and the security cameras. I went to Safe House number 3, a studio in Pilsen I'd rented under a 4th fake name, paid 6 months cash, kept stocked with go bags and emergency funds. I had the door open and my duffel halfway packed when the lights came on. Tyler sat in the chair by the window, perfectly still, eyes reflecting the streetlight like a wolf's. Going somewhere? My heart stopped. How did you? You're not the only one who knows how to disappear. He stood, and even in the shadows he was dangerous. 3 safe houses. Smart. This one's the best. No cameras, cash lease, far enough from your usual pattern. I'm impressed. You followed me. I've been following you since you walked out last night. No apology in his voice. Did you really think I'd let you face Blake alone? You should have let me go. The words came out broken. You should have let me disappear and forgotten I existed. Too late for that. Blake's going to kill you. I threw the duffel at him. He caught it without blinking. He sent someone to the Ivory today. He has photos of you. He knows we're. I couldn't finish. Didn't know what we were. Everyone I touch dies, Tyler. Everyone. And I won't let you be next. He set down the bag with careful precision. Tell me everything. Now. So I broke. 2 years of running, of fear, of watching people die because they'd shown me kindness. It all came pouring out. The drug deal I'd witnessed in Seattle, federal agents loading shipments, Blake's face in the shadows. Entering witness protection, trusting the system. Blake's first attempt on my life. The safe house that wasn't safe. The marshals who never came. The 18 months since, city to city, identity to identity, watching my trail of bodies grow. It's not just the drug deal, I said, voice raw. Blake's running a trafficking ring. Using federal resources to move victims. The previous witness who committed suicide? She was going to expose it. The motel clerk helped me, so Blake made an example. The lawyer found evidence, so he had an accident. The nurse. My voice cracked. She had a daughter. 8 years old. Blake doesn't just kill witnesses. He destroys everyone around them. Tyler's expression had gone absolutely cold. Not angry. Glacial. He threatened me. Big mistake. You don't understand. He has federal resources, unlimited reach. And I have an empire built on making people disappear. He moved closer, gripped my shoulders. He wants a war? I'll give him a fucking war. But you stay. You stop running. And you trust me to handle this. I can't. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I knew before opening it what I'd find. Text message. 48 hours. Leave, or I start killing everyone at the Ivory one by one until I find you. The bartender with the scar seems promising. Maybe your boss. Maybe the regulars you smile at. Your choice, Olivia. Run, or watch them all die. Below it. Photos. Carlos behind the bar. Elena the hostess. Tyler walking to his car. Hunting grounds mapped. Targets acquired. I looked up at Tyler, saw my own rage reflected in his storm gray eyes. He's going to kill innocent people. No. Tyler's voice was death itself. He's not going to get the chance. Call your team, he said into his phone, never breaking eye contact with me. Full protection protocol. The Ivory goes on lockdown. And find me everything on Agent Vincent Blake. I want to know where he sleeps, what he eats, and every person he's ever loved. He ended the call. You're moving into my compound tonight. No arguments. Blake wants to play with people's lives. He just picked the wrong fucking person to threaten. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't running. I was standing still and letting someone fight beside me. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever done. Tyler's compound wasn't a house. It was a fortress disguised as a mansion. 12-foot walls, cameras on every angle, guards who moved like ex-military because they probably were. He led me through security checkpoints that would make airports jealous, past men who nodded respectfully and didn't ask questions about the woman with the duffel bag and wild eyes. I fought him every step. I should leave. I stopped in the marble foyer, surrounded by wealth that felt obscene when people were dying. Disappear. Blake will follow me and forget about you. No. Tyler's voice was iron. He's already made his move. Leaving now just proves his tactics work. His tactics include murdering innocent people. Which is why you're staying where I can protect you. He moved closer, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw something besides calculated control in his eyes. Fear. Raw and quickly hidden. When I was 19, I watched my family die because I wasn't strong enough to protect them. I've spent 13 years making sure I never feel that powerless again. His hands gripped my shoulders. You think I'm letting you walk away? You think I'm letting some corrupt Fed take what's mine? I'm not yours. His intensity burned. You've been mine since you looked me in the eye and dared me to do something about it. Now stop fighting me and let me fight for you. The words should have terrified me. Should have triggered every instinct to run. Instead, they cracked something open in my chest, the part that had been fighting alone for so long I'd forgotten what backup felt like. This isn't surrender, I said quietly. This is strategy. I'll take it. He released me, pulled out his phone. Marcus. Conference room. Bring everything we have on Blake. The next 3 hours were a masterclass in organized crime efficiency. Tyler's team, ex-FBI, ex-military, people who'd chosen the winning side when the law failed them, laid out Blake's operation with surgical precision. It was worse than I'd thought. Blake had been using witness protection for 5 years, not to protect witnesses but to disappear trafficking victims. The drug deal I'd witnessed? Cover for moving 3 teenage girls across state lines. The previous witness, Amanda Torres, had figured it out, started documenting everything. Her suicide in federal custody came 2 days before her testimony. He's not just dirty. Tyler's voice was death itself. He's a monster wearing a badge. Which is why we can't just kill him. Marcus, Tyler's head of security, pulled up financial records. He disappears. Federal investigation lands on us. We need him to either disappear himself or get arrested by people clean enough to make it stick. Or we force his hand. Tyler leaned back, eyes calculating. I'll reach out. Offer a deal. Say I'm willing to hand over Olivia in exchange for him leaving my territory. Ice flooded my veins. What? He won't believe it unless I sell it right. We arrange a meeting neutral ground. He brings his people, I bring mine. Tyler's smile was predatory. And we end this. I'm coming. No. Yes. I stood, planted my hands on the table. This is my fight, Tyler. I'm not sitting in a tower while you're the only thing I can't afford to lose. His fist slammed the table hard enough to rattle the laptop. The room went silent. You want to help? Fine. But I won't watch you die because you need to prove something. I'm not proving anything. I'm finishing what I started. I met his fury with my own. I'm not a damsel to be locked away. I'm a woman who's been running for 2 years, and I'm done. Blake threatened people I care about. I get to be there when he pays for it. The silence stretched. Tyler's jaw worked, storm gray eyes searching mine for something. Weakness, maybe, or fear he could exploit to keep me safe. He wouldn't find either. Fine. He turned to Marcus. She's there. Armed. 2 of our best on her at all times. Blake gets within 10 feet of her. They shoot first and I'll handle the questions later. Marcus nodded. Rodriguez and Kim. They're good. They better be. Tyler looked back at me. This isn't partnership, Olivia. This is me compromising because I know you'll go anyway, and I'd rather have you where I can see you. I'll take it, I echoed his earlier words. Something shifted between us. Not trust, not yet, but the foundation of it. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't facing the monster alone. I was standing beside someone who'd face it with me, even if it killed us both. Tyler sent the message at midnight. You want her? Let's talk terms. Neutral ground. Come alone and we make a deal. Blake's response came 30 seconds later. Riverfront Warehouse, District 9. Tomorrow, 10 p.m. You hand her over. I forget you exist. He'll bring an army, Marcus said, studying the location on his tablet. The warehouse has 3 entry points, rooftop access, and sightlines for days. Tyler's smile was all teeth. Good. So will we. Kim, I want snipers on every building within 200 yards. Rodriguez, ground team positions here, here, and here. He marked the map with brutal efficiency. Blake thinks he's walking into a handover. He's walking into a kill box. I stood at the edge of the conference room, watching Tyler orchestrate war like conducting a symphony. This was what he'd built his empire on: precision violence, calculated risks, the ability to see 10 moves ahead while everyone else was stuck on move 2. Your role, Tyler said, turning to me, is staying in the vehicle with Rodriguez and Kim until Blake shows himself. Then you present the evidence. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket. 2 years of insurance I'd collected from motel rooms and public libraries. Recordings of Blake's calls, documents Amanda Torres's family had given me, testimony from victims I'd secretly interviewed in every city I'd run to. He needs to know he's already lost before you end him. He'll know. Tyler's eyes held mine. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long night. But rest didn't come. I lay in the guest room Tyler had given me, twice the size of any apartment I'd lived in, with sheets that cost more than my monthly salary, and stared at the ceiling, counting the hours until everything either ended or exploded. The knock came at 3 a.m. Tyler stood in my doorway, still dressed, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Can't sleep either? I sat up. Keeps replaying. Every scenario where this goes wrong. It won't. He stepped inside, closed the door. I don't lose, Olivia. Not when it matters. If it does. My voice cracked. If something happens tomorrow, I need you to know. Calling you babe that first night? Best mistake I ever made. Something shifted in his expression. He crossed the room in 3 strides, cupped my face with devastating gentleness. Say it again. This time it wasn't defiance. Wasn't an accident. Babe. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was oxygen. Desperate, consuming, 2 years of running and 13 years of loneliness colliding in the space between breaths. I kissed him back like tomorrow might not come, like this moment was all we'd ever get, like I'd finally stopped running long enough to feel something besides fear. When we finally broke apart, his forehead rested against mine. You stay alive tomorrow. That's an order. You too. I gripped his shirt. Because I'm not done fighting with you yet. His laugh was rough. Wouldn't dream of disappointing you. Morning came too fast. By 8 p.m., Tyler's team had transformed preparation into precision. Snipers confirmed positions. Ground units checked weapons. The warehouse was mapped wired, surrounded by enough firepower to start a small war. Blake doesn't leave alive, Tyler told his team, voice cold as winter. But I want him to see it coming. I want him to know exactly why he's dying. Rodriguez handed me a Glock, compact, loaded, safety off. You know how to use this. I've been carrying a knife for 2 years because guns are harder to hide. I checked the chamber with practiced efficiency. But yeah, I know how to shoot. Kim raised an eyebrow at Tyler. She'll do. Tyler pulled me aside as the team mobilized. Last chance to stay here. Safe. Protected. 2 years I've been running. I holstered the gun. Tonight I stop. He studied my face, looking for doubt, maybe, or fear he could use to keep me behind these walls. He wouldn't find either. Whatever we were, whatever this had become, we were finishing it together. Then let's end this. He headed for the door, paused. And Olivia. After tonight, you're not going anywhere. We clear. Crystal, babe. His smile was dangerous and warm all at once. That's my girl. We drove into the night, toward the warehouse and whatever waited in the shadows. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't running toward something. I was running at it. The warehouse smelled like rust and forgotten violence, decades of industrial decay mixed with the metallic tang of old blood. Perfect place for a deal that was never going to happen. Blake arrived at 10:02 p.m., fashionably late, with 5 men who moved like military contractors moonlighting as federal muscle. They fanned out in tactical formation, checking corners, scanning shadows. Professional. Thorough. They never looked up at the rafters where Tyler's snipers waited like patient angels of death. Tyler and I stood in the center of the warehouse floor, highlighted by the single overhead light he'd insisted on. Theater, he'd called it. Blake needed to see us clearly, needed to feel in control right up until the moment he realized he wasn't. Rodriguez and Kim flanked me, close enough to intervene but far enough to give the illusion I was vulnerable. The Glock pressed against my spine felt like a promise. Blake stepped into the light, and I saw him clearly for the first time in 2 years. Older than I remembered, early 50s, graying at the temples, face weathered by years of lying to people who trusted him. He wore a federal windbreaker-like armor, like that badge could protect him from what was coming. Smart choice, Peterson. Blake's smile was oil slick. Hand her over and we're done. You go back to your empire, I go back to mine, everyone wins. I didn't say I was handing her over. Tyler's voice was ice. I said we'd make a deal. Blake's smile faltered. The deal was you walk in here thinking you have the advantage. Tyler shifted slightly, and I caught the glint of his weapon. How's that working out for you? Blake's men reached for their weapons. 3 sharp cracks from above, suppressed rifles, barely louder than coughs, and 3 bodies dropped before they cleared leather. The remaining 2 froze, hands raised, smart enough to recognize a kill box when they were standing in one. Blake spun, gun drawn, and found himself staring down Tyler's barrel. But his weapon wasn't aimed at Tyler. It was aimed at me. Stand off, Blake said, voice tight. Shoot me, my finger twitches, she dies. Then we all die together. Tyler didn't blink. Your call. You want to know what I witnessed 2 years ago? I stepped forward despite Rodriguez's hissed warning. Your trafficking ring. The drug deal was just the tip of it. Blake's jaw tightened. No one will believe you. I'm a federal agent. You were a federal agent. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket. I've been running, yes. But I've also been working. Every city I stopped in, I found your victims. I have 17 testimonies. The previous witness you killed? Amanda Torres. Her family gave me everything she had on you. I held up the drive like a talisman. Recordings of you coordinating shipments. Documents showing money transfers from shell companies. Testimony from girls you disappeared through witness protection. The ones who survived, anyway. Bank accounts in the Caymans. Properties in Mexico. Every single piece of your operation, documented and ready to be delivered to the FBI field office in D.C. The clean one. Not the office you control. Blake's face went white. You're bluffing. Amanda kept backups. So did I. I took another step. Motel clerk in Portland? Before you killed him, he gave me copies of your check-in records, 17 different aliases, all linked to trafficking routes. The lawyer in Denver? She'd already filed preliminary briefs with evidence before your accident. The nurse in Kansas City? She photographed the injuries on the girls you relocated. Every person you killed to get to me left me something. You didn't just create a witness, Blake. You created an archive. I'll bury Peterson. Blake's desperation was showing now, gun shaking. One call and I bring federal heat on his entire operation. RICO charges, asset forfeiture, every cop in Chicago watching his every. Tyler laughed. Cold. Final. You think I'm afraid of heat? I own half the cops in this city, and the other half look the other way because I keep the real monsters off the streets. You're not federal authority, Blake. You're a criminal wearing a badge. There's a difference. Blake's hand twitched toward me. Tyler fired. Single shot. Center mass. Precise. Blake dropped like a puppet with cut strings, federal windbreaker blooming red, gun clattering across concrete. His remaining men raised their hands higher, smart enough to know they'd just watched their leverage die. Clean it up, Tyler ordered. His team materialized from shadows, efficient, professional, already moving Blake's men toward zip ties and the van waiting outside. Package the evidence. Make sure the DC field office gets everything. Anonymous tip. Untraceable. I stood over Blake's body, waiting for something. Satisfaction, closure, horror at what I'd just witnessed. Anything. I felt nothing. Just emptiness where fear had lived for 2 years. 3 people died because I asked them for help, I said quietly. He killed them to get to me. And now he's dead. I should feel something. Tyler's hand found mine. You feel relieved. That's enough. Is it? I looked up at him. He's dead because of me. Because I couldn't. He's dead because he made choices. Tyler turned me to face him, hands firm on my shoulders. He chose to run a trafficking ring. He chose to kill witnesses. He chose to threaten you, to threaten my people. His death isn't on you, Olivia. It's on him. I wanted to believe that. Wanted to accept that justice didn't always wear a badge, that sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something more dangerous. Looking into Tyler's storm-gray eyes, I realized I did believe it. And that should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like freedom. The FBI field office in DC received an anonymous package 3 days after Blake died. 17 testimonies. Financial records. Recordings that turned careers into criminal charges. Within a week, Blake's entire network crumbled. 14 arrests across 5 states, from dirty cops to trafficking coordinators to the federal prosecutors who'd looked the other way. Within 2 weeks, I received official notice. All charges dropped, witness status cleared, offered relocation with actual protection this time. I stood in Tyler's office, the letter in my hands feeling like a passport to a life I'd thought I'd lost forever. You can have your life back. Tyler stood by the window, silhouetted against Chicago's skyline like a king surveying his kingdom. Real name, real identity, go anywhere you want. I'll make sure you're set up. Money, security, whatever you need. No strings. I stared at him. You'd let me go? He turned, and something vulnerable flickered in those storm-gray eyes. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Olivia. I want you to stay. But only if that's what you want. I looked down at the letter. Could go back to Seattle, rebuild the life I'd abandoned. Get a normal job, make normal friends, date normal men who didn't solve problems with bullets. Be safe in the conventional sense. Boring, predictable, alone. The old Olivia would have taken that option. Would have run toward safety and never looked back. But the old Olivia had died somewhere between the Crimson Room and this moment. My name is Olivia Palmer. I set down the letter. I witnessed a federal agent running a trafficking ring. I spent 2 years running because I was afraid trusting anyone would get them killed. I moved toward him, each step deliberate. And then I met you. Tyler went very still, barely breathing. You're the most dangerous man I've ever known. I stopped inches away. You've killed people. You'll kill again. You run a criminal empire built on violence and control. I reached up, cupped his face the way he'd done to me so many times. And you're the only person who made me feel safe enough to stop running. Is that a yes? His voice was rough, uncertain in a way I'd never heard. I smiled. That's a, I'm staying, babe. His reaction mirrored that first night. Shock, heat, something dangerous and possessive flooding his expression. Say it again. This time I knew exactly what I was doing. What it meant. What I was promising. Babe. But this time, His hands framed my face with devastating gentleness. It's not a dare. No. I leaned into his touch. It's a promise. I stay, you protect me. Simple. Tyler laughed, the sound rough and warm. Nothing about us is simple. Then we'll make complicated work. He kissed me like he had the night before the warehouse, desperate and claiming and full of promises that men like him shouldn't be able to keep. But Tyler Peterson didn't make promises he couldn't keep. It was why people feared him. It was why I trusted him. 6 months later, the Ivory hummed with the familiar rhythm of a Friday night. I moved through the crowd with practiced ease, no longer hiding behind a fake name or a false identity. Olivia Palmer, Tyler Peterson's partner, in business and everything else. I managed the legitimate side of his empire now. The clubs, the restaurants, the real estate investments that kept the IRS happy and the operations clean. Turns out, 2 years of running from federal agents had given me an excellent education in money laundering regulations and how to stay on the right side of them. Most of the time. The drunk regular who'd been getting progressively louder all night finally crossed the line, shouting at Carlos about his tab. I was halfway across the floor before Tyler even looked up from his office. Hey. I planted myself between Carlos and the drunk. You can pay your bill and leave like a gentleman, or I can have you removed like the asshole you're being. Your choice. The drunk made the wrong choice, reached for me with a grabbing hand that never connected. I had his wrist twisted and his face pressed against the bar before he finished the motion. Carlos, call him a cab. Add a 20% asshole tax to his bill. Security appeared to escort him out. The crowd returned to their conversations. Crisis averted. I glanced up at Tyler's office. He was standing at the window watching, that dangerous smile playing at his lips. I caught his eye and mouthed, "I've got it, babe." His smile widened, that same edge of danger, but now with warmth underneath. Pride. Maybe even love, though neither of us had been brave enough to say it out loud yet. We would. Eventually. We had time now. I returned to the bar, poured myself a whiskey I'd actually pay for, and looked around at the life I'd built from the ashes of the one I'd lost. I spent 2 years running from danger, hiding from shadows, convinced that survival meant isolation. Turns out, I just needed to find the right kind of danger. The kind that runs toward me
stood over
instead
Blake's
of
body,
away,
waiting
the
for
kind that
something.
dares me to say it again, to
closure,
mean it, to
horror
stay
at what I just
the kind
witnessed.
that turns a slip of the
Anything.
tongue into
I
a promise
felt
worth
nothing.
keeping.
Just
Tyler
emptiness
appeared
where
beside
fear
me,
had lived
stole
for
my
2
whiskey,
years.
took a
3
sip.
people died
You
because I
handled
asked
that
them for
well.
help.
I had
said
a good
quietly.
teacher.
He
I
killed
took
them
the
to
glass
get to me.
back. And
He
now
taught me that
he's
sometimes
dead.
the only
I
way to
should
stop
feel
running
something.
is to stand still
Tyler's
and
hand
fight.
found mine. You feel relieved. That's enough. Is it? I looked up at him. He's dead because of me. Because I couldn't. He's dead because he made choices. Tyler turned me to face him, hands firm on my shoulders. He chose to run a trafficking ring. He chose to kill witnesses. He chose to threaten you, to threaten my people. His death isn't on you, Olivia. It's on him. I wanted to believe that. Wanted to accept that justice didn't always wear a badge, that sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something more dangerous. Looking into Tyler's storm-gray eyes, I realized I did believe it. And that should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like freedom. The FBI field office in D.C. received an anonymous package 3 days after Blake died. 17 testimonies. Financial records. Recordings that turned careers into criminal charges. Within a week, Blake's entire network crumbled. 14 arrests across 5 states, from dirty cops to trafficking coordinators to the federal prosecutors who'd looked the other way. Within 2 weeks, I received official notice. All charges dropped, witness status cleared, offered relocation with actual protection this time. I stood in Tyler's office, the letter in my hands feeling like a passport to a life I'd thought I'd lost forever. You can have your life back. Tyler stood by the window, silhouetted against Chicago's skyline like a king surveying his kingdom. Real name, real identity, go anywhere you want. I'll make sure you're set up. Money, security, Whatever you need. No strings. I stared at him. You'd let me go? He turned, and something vulnerable flickered in those storm-gray eyes. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Olivia. I want you to stay. But only if that's what you want. I looked down at the letter. Could go back to Seattle, rebuild the life I'd abandoned. Get a normal job, make normal friends, date normal men who didn't solve problems with bullets. Be safe in the conventional sense. Boring, predictable, alone. The old Olivia would have taken that option. Would have run toward safety and never looked back. But the old Olivia had died somewhere between the Crimson Room and this moment. My name is Olivia Palmer. I set down the letter. I witnessed a federal agent running a trafficking ring. I spent 2 years running because I was afraid trusting anyone would get them killed. I moved toward him, each step deliberate. And then I met you. Tyler went very still, barely breathing. You're the most dangerous man I've ever known. I stopped inches away. You've killed people. You'll kill again. You run a criminal empire built on violence and control. I reached up, cupped his face the way he'd done to me so many times. And you're the only person who made me feel safe enough to stop running. Is that a yes? His voice was rough, uncertain in a way I'd never heard. I smiled. That's a, I'm staying, babe. His reaction mirrored that first night. Shock, heat, something dangerous and possessive flooding his expression. Say it again. This time I knew exactly what I was doing. What it meant. What I was promising. Babe. But this time, his hands framed my face with devastating gentleness. It's not a dare. No. I leaned into his touch. It's a promise. I stay, you protect me. Simple. Tyler laughed, the sound rough and warm. Nothing about us is simple. Then we'll make complicated work. He kissed me like he had the night before the warehouse, desperate and claiming and full of promises that men like him shouldn't be able to keep. But Tyler Peterson didn't make promises he couldn't keep. It was why people feared him. It was why I trusted him. 6 months later, the Ivory hummed with the familiar rhythm of a Friday night. I moved through the crowd with practiced ease, no longer hiding behind a fake name or a false identity. Olivia Palmer, Tyler Peterson's partner. In business and everything else. I managed the legitimate side of his empire now. The clubs, the restaurants, the real estate investments that kept the IRS happy and the operations clean. Turns out, 2 years of running from federal agents had given me an excellent education in money laundering regulations and how to stay on the right side of them. Most of the time. The drunk regular who'd been getting progressively louder all night finally crossed the line, shouting at Carlos about his tab. I was halfway across the floor before Tyler even looked up from his office. Hey. I planted myself between Carlos and the drunk. You can pay your bill and leave like a gentleman, or I can have you removed like the asshole you're being. Your choice. The drunk made the wrong choice, reached for me with a grabbing hand that never connected. I had his wrist twisted and his face pressed against the bar before he finished the motion. Carlos, call him a cab. Add a 20% asshole tax to his bill. Security appeared to escort him out. The crowd returned to their conversations. Crisis averted. I glanced up at Tyler's office. He was standing at the window watching, that dangerous smile playing at his lips. I caught his eye and mouthed, "I've got it, babe." His smile widened, that same edge of danger, but now with warmth underneath. Pride. Maybe even love, though neither of us had been brave enough to say it out loud yet. We would. Eventually. We had time now. I returned to the bar, poured myself a whiskey I'd actually pay for, and looked around at the life I'd built from the ashes of the one I'd lost. I spent 2 years running from danger, hiding from shadows, convinced that survival meant isolation. Turns out, I just needed to find the right kind of danger. The kind that runs toward me instead of away. The kind that dares me to say it again, to mean it, to stay. The kind that turns a slip of the tongue into a promise worth keeping. Tyler appeared beside me, stole my whiskey, took a sip. You handled that well. I had a good teacher. I took the glass back. He taught me that sometimes the only way to stop running is to stand still and fight. Smart man. Dangerous man. I corrected. There's a difference. His hand found mine on the bar, calloused, scarred, capable of violence and gentleness in equal measure. You complaining? I thought about it. About the warehouse and the bodies and the empire built on blood. About the freedom to use my real name and the security of walls that actually protected instead of imprisoned. About the man who'd looked at me in a moment of exhaustion and seen someone worth saving instead of someone to exploit. No, I said finally. I'm staying. Good. He pulled me close, pressed a kiss to my temple. Because I'm not letting you go, babe. I smiled against his shoulder. Say it again. I dare you. His laugh rumbled through both of us. That's my girl. And for the first time in 2 years, maybe for the first time ever, I was home. Not because I'd stopped running, but because I'd finally found someone worth standing still for.